Let's talk about the real reason why you don't have energy to do your tasks. Now, I love productivity, and as such I always try to optimize my day, make like this perfect plan, have sure that everything that I need to do is known, and then I'll just be able to go through it, cranking widgets as David Allen concert, and get everything done in a single day. But in practice, that only worked for like the first couple of hours, and at some point I was just staring out the window, playing with my phone, watching YouTube shorts, not really getting anything done. And I thought that it was based on the amount of energy. Basically, I've had my productive time and then at some point my brain just can't process anymore. But that wasn't everywhere. So the first moment I realized that it wasn't just like energy was I work at a volunteer organization called Ahrens in the Netherlands. It's a Japanese culture event with like a lot of things like cosplay. If you're not from the Netherlands, think Comic-Con on a smaller scale. There, I had no issues at all staying focused and working all day. I would get up really early, like around 7, and I would keep going until like 3 a.m. in the morning and then go to bed, wake up at 7 again. And I was able to do that like from first day when I arrived till Monday when I left. So clearly it wasn't just the amount of energy that you have to spend in a day. So I was analyzing these days to figure out what was the difference between one of those long work days and me sitting behind my computer getting some work done. Could it be the energy, like the walking around that I have to do the whole day? Maybe, but also there were like a lot of small tasks that I got to do. So maybe was it the diversity of tasks that I got to work through, or the fact that I could wrap these things up? Because if you run a convention, it's not one big task you get in a day. It's a lot of small things that you need to resolve, problems that come in your way that you have to take care of all the time. And then I got another piece of the puzzle because I realized it was very similar to the building games that I use. I play a lot of Satisfactory, Factorio, where I spend hours behind my system and I keep working and adding elements to it. And that never gets bored and I always have something to do. So maybe those two things were related. But until now, I'm just working in a vacuum. So the best thing to do is maybe do a little bit of research on the topic. So I'll just type in a small Google search and get going. So, key tip, if you want to do any research, be sure to figure out that it's never an easy answer and there's a lot of conflicting stuff. It was not very conclusive, but the things that I drawn from it is, first of all, I thought it was about using your willpower and energy. So I saw these as two separate things, because if I make a forced list in a day, then I have to use willpower to get through that list, and eventually my willpower would go down while my energy was still there, but you know, the next thing on my list was something I didn't feel like, and then I didn't have the willpower for it. And this was absolutely wrong. I found out that a lot of these things are the same. So energy, willpower, motivation are all basically talking about the same thing. We don't know how we work internally that well. And then finally, as I was searching through it, I found another word, and that was a key factor for me, and that was emotion. Now, one of the key thoughts that's been going on is that the brain has willpower and that it's like a muscle. You can train it, it has like a limited amount of time you can put into it. That's just not really true. Your brain isn't like a muscle, your brain is like an organ. And just like your heart won't stop beating when it's tired, your brain doesn't stop working when it's tired. You keep thinking no matter what. So now you know it's emotion, but what can you do about it? I made two crucial changes in my workflow. I don't plan everything anymore. Now I just say like, there's a couple of things that I need to get done and the rest is much more dependent on how I feel. I'll talk about that one at the end of the video. The other bit that I have is knowing that it's emotion. There's a couple of tricks I can do to get my head in the right mindset. Now, this won't be perfect, of course, because emotion is strong and sometimes you just can't get that to work. But these are the things that are like, you know, the day just isn't going as well. Small tricks that I use to trick my mind into getting into a workflow. And the first one, noise cancelling headphones with music. I've basically trained my brain that if there's lo-fi on my head and I can't hear the rest of the world, that's probably when I should buckle down and focus. But also the music is related to the type of emotion that I need to get stuff done. So if I need to do thinking work and I'm writing, then I'll pick some lo-fi and something that's relaxing for my brain and I can think. But if I just need to buffle through, like for example, I have to process the invoices that I have, which are not very hard on the thinking, but mostly boring, I'll pick some louder or heavier music, like some dance or EDM, that keeps me going. The only thing that I try to avoid is music with like a lot of songs or lyrics in it, definitely ones that I don't know already, because those distract and get my emotion all the way off to left based and not focused on the task I was trying to do. Another one is the Pomodoro method, but I've been looking at it differently. It's not the 25 minutes of focus time that are important for me, it's that 5-minute break. Because the 5-minute break means that I can emotionally recover. And the main trick with that one is that 5-minute break in my case means 5-minute break without a screen. So I walk around, look out a window, do any of those things. Sometimes it's really boring, but I did notice that if I do take those breaks, it helps to keep me focused throughout the day, because I'm not constantly plowing away at whatever problem I'm working on, but I get a moment to just smell the roses, as they say, and take a moment to let my brain breathe and then do like another dive into this set. Well, you knew it was coming, there had to be some exercise in this one, but it doesn't have to be, you know, doing a half marathon. Things that I do, I could go for a walk, though very often I don't feel like it, but I also have like a VR headset in my office. So I go for a round the pistol whip, just, you know, 5 minutes of like 1 or 2 rounds of shooting baddies and moving around so my heart rate goes pumping. And that also changes my emotional state. Find whatever works for you. So the type of exercise that gets you excited, and make it available close towards wherever you're working. Have a few weights, kettlebells are very good. It doesn't have to be a full exercise, just lifting some heavy things and putting them back down might be enough to help your emotional state. So something that you shouldn't be doing is doom scrolling. I mean, Twitter is nice, but you can get lost. And if you get lost for a long time, like half an hour, you'll feel bad. And the problem is, because it's an emotional thing, feeling bad won't make you be able to focus on work. You'll just feel bad. So what I use is something called Stay Focused D, which is an app I install on my phone that limits my Twitter usage during a workday from 9 to 5 to around 10 to 15 minutes. Enough to check a couple of things, but not enough to get into like a wild discussion about the color of a sweater somewhere on the internet that nobody really cares about. We're just trying to procrastinate on our work. And then finally, and that's very important, but also the hardest one, is realize that you just hate a task. In my experience, it doesn't work to put some effort in and get that task done, because my experience says that if I get a task that I hate done quicker, the only result is that people go like, hey, you're good at that task, here's another one. Defeating the whole purpose. So here's my tip. If you hate a task, think how you can get rid of that for good. Either by not saying yes to it anymore, if you have that option, delegating it, automating it. I love automating tasks that I hate, because, you know, I get the rewards, but I no longer have to spend my energy on doing the task. But you have to do something with it. Just getting the task done won't get it away. It will just come back, and usually it comes back multiplied and worse. And then finally, how would you deal it? Like, which are your tricks to get like in a better emotional state after watching the videos? Be sure to drop something in the comments telling me like what options you have. I might be able to use them as well, and I'll apply them and probably revisit this topic in a year to see how well it worked for me on the long run. Now, some things I didn't change. I still have an inbox that I use to capture things. I still use Todoist for that most of the time because it's easy and quick on my phone, though I'm starting to capture more and more inside Logseek. And I then move them towards projects. I have less projects, and all these projects are linked to time blocks. That means that I can put tasks in them, and there's a certain time frame when I look at those tasks and try to do them. And then I have as little due dates as possible. So what I used to do when I wanted to remember something is I would say like, oh, I'll pick this up on Friday, or I'll pick this up next week, Tuesday, or I'll pick it up today. Yeah, that's gonna happen. No, I tried moving them away, because the only effect that had is that I would get to a day, have like a huge list of things that previous me planned for now me being offended about previous me thinking I could do this much work, and then moving like at least half of that to future me, and then the cycle repeats. Now, I still use due dates, But I try to do them on the day itself, and I try to limit it. So the limit is 3 Pomodoros per day on things that I think I really should get done that day. That helps me to focus a bit, but it's just 1.5 hours of fixed work a day that I'm just gonna willpower buffle through, try and get it done. I use Pomodoros for that because those things really require that 25-minute timer to keep going. But 1.5 hours, I hear you think already. It's like, I have 8 work hours in a day. There's more hours than that. How am I gonna get anything done in that 1.5 hour? And here's the kicker, you don't. Yes, of course you get like movement on those specific tasks that you thought were so important that they could take up that 1.5 hour. But the rest of the day, I look at the projects that are related to the time block and I see it more as a buffet. I go over it and see like, what task do I feel like doing now? So which one will make me emotionally happy? That's both a pro and a con. One is that you'll get more done because 5 hours of doing work that you feel like will beat out 4 hours of procrastination and 1 hour of working on the thing you don't feel like, but you had to do anyway. But you might get to a point where you go like, hey, I hate all these tasks, and that will be a good point to look at those tasks and go and like, okay, why do you have to do this? Can you smear them out on that 1.5 hour block every day so that you don't have to do all those things at one day and get really sad? There's different ways around it, but the answer is probably never gonna be easy. The first thing though is to know these things don't make me happy. I should get rid of them. Would be nice if you could delegate them. Not everybody has that luxury. Maybe you can get rid of them. Maybe the hardest thing is gonna be calling someone and telling them, no, I'm not gonna do this because this doesn't spark joy in my life to get all Marie Kondo on you. The method isn't perfect. Life has the habit of just hitting us over and over and over again. So you'll have some days that you just won't get anything done at all. If you tried, and I've did this many a times where I just tried keeping going at it and then in the afternoon I still didn't get anything done, I just give up. I just accept that this is a day, the day is lost, put a strike through it and move on towards the next day. Go do something fun. Because we all need a break once in a while, and as long as this doesn't happen too often, like, you know, if it happens like once or twice a month, it's not a big problem. If it happens every week, you might want to see a doctor for it. If you don't feel like it and you just can't get anything, and even with some tricks and change your emotional stuff, you just can't get it moving forward, give up on today, sleep early, get some extra rest, take some time, food, drinks, and you'll feel better for it. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Remember, you're awesome, keep it up, and see you in the next one.